Okay, here she comes.
Okay.
I like this song. All done. Rabbit, pig.
Okay. Unless there's a lot of talking, this should have, if it doesn't have that, just change the battery. I've got two others in there that will charge fine. Only thing we need to do is keep the teeth in. Don't take it out. Biff said it's better to keep the battery in. I mean, not Biff, Hugh told me it's better to keep the battery on. Remember last year? Better keep the battery on because it always keeps the internal clock in here charged. So you can keep this open if you want, but just use this one battery. I don't think it'll be necessary. The only thing to do when you're done is just turn this off. And then just turn it off. Well, no, you can. If people are talking, you can. You can just tell people, just leave it open like that. Just do your thing. And don't forget to cap the, and I'll be in the clinic up at Blueberry. So there's only one tape. This is the long tape. When you take that now, like almost 90 minutes instead of being over like 60. So these are 90 minutes. Yeah. And I said, yeah, okay. So when you're ready to go, yeah, it is. I pressed it. I pressed record because you weren't in it. I was asking did it here, I went ahead because he came in. Remember, you just have to just swing it down.
I can stand this for about 2 minutes.
Go straight. Then what? You just
Charles Haynes went to got invited to go to a conference called the Spiritual Unity of Nations. When he was about 18 years old.
Okay, there you are. Let me get out of here.
There was, at the end of this conference, there was a question and answer period. And there was a fellow there who was a Buddhist whose specialty was meditation, and he'd been meditating all his life. He was...
Sorry.
And he was, he was a person of mature years, like Bal Natu. And this college girl in the audience raised her hand and she said, when you sit all day in one position and meditate, doesn't that feel doesn't that hurt, And he said, when I started out, I had very painful pain, and now I have beautiful pain. But if I sit like this much longer, I'll have painful pain. Painful pain.
So wait for the beautiful then.
Right.
Wait for the beautiful.
That takes 30 or 40 years to develop beautiful pain. I didn't know what to do with
And when we do things, Balaji, in diagnosis,
That's true.
there was a story of an astrologer. He visited his clients. There was no phone like trade at that time, so he had to visit him personally. According to whatever horoscopes or palm reading is, all these things, he says something to these people, to the family members. And there was also one person who was a servant. In those days, there were no taps. So he has to fetch water from a well. And it was quite troublesome for him to carry the dishes on his shoulder. So when he was all alone, he also went to him and he said, "Will you please read my palm also?" He said, "Yes, I will read your palm." And he said, "Perhaps it seems that after 4 to 5 years, you have good days, you will be happier." Long continue with this. Days passed, months passed, the man didn't come. But after 4 or 5 years, the man did come. But still he was doing the same job. Just fetching water from the drain, carrying the king on his shoulder, pouring the water and all these things. So when all was quiet, then he said, "Sir, last time when you came, you said that I'll be in a happier position after 5-6 years. But now nothing has happened. I have yet to fetch water from the river and bring it here." He said, "But now you are happier." He said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Because you have been carrying it on your shoulder, the skin has become so thick now that formerly you used to suffer from it. Now you have not to suffer from it." That's the lotus position.
Did you want to share that story about Just Love Me, which is
They want to introduce something.
Introduce something?
It's all informal, not that there should be 10 people or 50 people or 1 or 2 years before Baba.
So what prompted your story about the
I was sitting like this, and then they said lotus position, so after 30 years, I found out I could still do it, but not for very long.
This isn't the same, but since Balaji's put me on the spot like that, this is what comes into my mind is an old story that Arish told many years ago about a yogi who wanted to, find enlightenment, be God realized. So he goes into the forest and he finds a good sized boulder and he starts sitting on the boulder. And he sits in meditation, and he sits, and he sits, and he sits. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 12 years go by, and finally he, calls out, "Why am I not receiving all these years I've been sitting here? Why, God, have you ignored me? Why aren't I receiving a boon from you? Why am I no closer to seeing you? I demand justice from you." And suddenly, after those years of sitting there, he hears a voice from above saying, "You want justice for the 12 years you've been sitting on this boulder? Justice demands now that boulder that you've been burdening for 12 years with your thoughts of wanting only God realization and power, justice demands that now you carry that boulder on your head so that you can relieve it of its burden."
I have read the story, but with a little change. When God appeared before him, God said, "Oh, I am really pleased with your presence. You have been doing this for 12 years. It's really a great period. And so, what do you want? What do you want?" The man was about to say that I want to realize truth or anything, something like that. But that just God has that very sense of humor. He said, "But let me tell you one thing. Whether you want the result of your penance or my grace." He said, "I have heard the stories of the lovers of God who receive His grace and they have to go through so many sufferings." He said, "Go on, quick, what do you want?" He said, "No. I want the reward of my penance." And then he said, "Because whatever you are doing, you are having, I am doing it. So to undo that I am doing it, you have to carry the stone on your head."
What would have happened if you had said, "Great"? Do you know?
I was not really there to tell the story.
But then that is like another story that you must know too, Balaji, that actually shows the difference between, in a sense, grace and that personal, I am doing, I want powers, or I will do. And that's, if you recall that story, where a man is sitting, again, it's another aspirant wanting to realize God, and he's been in the forest meditating. And one day, a musk type man walks by, and he stops him and he says, where are you going? He says, well, I'm going to the Lord. I'm going to see my Lord. And he says, well, if you can, will you give him a message from me that I've been sitting here meditating, longing to see him? And the musk says, of course, I'll tell him. And I want to know, how much longer do I have to wait to see him? And he says, I'll give him the message. He goes further and he comes to a man who's just an ordinary person living in the world, but totally and wholly devoted to God. And that man also sees him and says, like, where are you going? Because he recognizes that spark that it must be for God. He says, I'm going to see my Lord. He says, will you tell him all I long for is to see him? How much longer will I have to wait to see him? You remember?
No.
So then you don't? So then I'm probably not telling it as well as you can tell. That's why. So then he comes back, time has gone by, and he meets again the sadhu who's been performing the penances. And he says, did you come back from the Lord? Did you give him my message? And the monk says, yes, I did see the Lord. And what was his answer? What was his answer? And he says, your penances, your wholehearted devotion to doing this, to remembering me, means that you only have 12 more lives, let's say, 15 more lives before you'll see me. And the man who's been sitting there meditating says, what? I've got to go for 12, 15 more lives before I see you? And he says, yes, that's what the Lord said. Then he goes on and he finally gets to that town where he had originally seen the man who was just a homebody going about his work, farming his fields, but loving God all the time. And he turns to him. He recognizes the Muslim. He says, you've come back from seeing my Lord? And the Muslim says, yes. Did you remember somebody like me? Maybe not. There's so many who would ask, did you remember me? And he says, yes, I did. Did you convey the message? He says, yes, I did. So did the Lord answer? And the Lord said, yes, he did answer. How long do I have to wait until I see my Lord? I'm so thrilled that he even remembers me, thinks of me. And the Musk said, well, the Lord said that you have to wait till as soon as there are no more leaves on the tree. And he points to a big, huge old tree that has many thousands of leaves on it. But the lover's heart is so without expectation, so without demanding anything from the Lord, so thrilled that the Lord would even remember him, that he says, oh my God, praise my Lord, what blessing, what grace, that all I have to live is just till there's no leaves on the tree. And with that, a huge wind comes across the town, and the moment it blows all the leaves off that tree, and that man becomes united with God. So that's where grace and just loving him supersede our struggle with expectation. Remember that hymn?
Yes. The only change is, he says, the leaves. You are also sitting under the leaves. You see this tree? How many leaves it has? It has millions of leaves. And so, you have to take as many lifetimes as the leaves of the trees, and then you will be liberated. So really, God said this, only these many leaves, whatever they are, of just one tree? Oh, thanks God. is what I have.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. See, you should just tell it. Forget that.
This reminds me of what Mani said to Nisha the poem, when she said she reminded Nisha of a saying of Ramakrishna. When Ramakrishna said,
The winds of grace. I know that you mentioned.
Get so that we are correct. That the winds of God's grace are ever blowing. It is only that you have to set your sails. The winds of God are ever blowing. You have only to set your sails right. We composed a beautiful song over that, and we sang it here in this hall just a month back. Well, the chairs ahead, Jeff, because you come on showing on Sundays and women come.
It's okay.
It's okay, sorry. No, why I'm asking you, because I want you to share something so that you should not be too far away. Some story from Mati Beach, recent.
Don't turn that thing this way. I gotta think if there's anything.
If you were in the mood, you could say that story about that you mentioned before morning arti of 2 days ago, that you had asked Eric about if suppose you go out and drink a lot and you have a hangover. That
Yeah.
if you feel like it.
Okay.
Give try.
This is something that I said here in Mandalay Hall. Maybe 20 years ago, but it had a great impact on me. I said to Erich, what if I went out last night and I got drunk and I had kind of a wild time and I knew Baba wouldn't be happy with it, but I just got the impulse and I've done it. And now today I've got this hangover. I feel miserable. I'm unhappy, but I don't want to burden Baba, with what I did last night. I mean, I decided to do it. I'm willing willing to suffer this through. Baba doesn't want me to give him my hangover. I don't want to burden him with that. And Erich said, yes. So Erich said, yes, give him your hangover. And the embarrassment of having such a meager gift, give him your hangover, and the embarrassment of having such a meager gift to give your beloved will inspire you next time to have something more precious to offer. And then this is the line that really, really went deep. He said, it is a greater burden to Baba to withhold anything from him than to throw on him the worst of yourself. It's a greater burden to withhold anything from Baba than to throw on him the worst of yourself. So that's so then from then on I said, well, okay, Bob, you're getting everything. It's going to be less of a burden than if I keep it back. Is that how you remembered it? Yeah. That had a very powerful impact. There was another exchange I had with Erich, where one day I said to Erich, we all know how Bal, his relationship with Baba, and he could never do anything right, and Baba would ignore him for times and find fault with him. How did Baba relate to you on a day-to-day basis? What was the dynamic there? And Erich, I think he was sitting over here, and he kind of looked down, and he said, how he kind of looked down, he said, Baba was always very good to me. I had self-knowledge. And I thought, oh my God, Erich, right here in this hall, I had self-knowledge. What are you saying, Erich? But immediately said, I knew that I was a scoundrel. Now, he's serious. You're not... And whenever I did anything wrong, I knew, and I would look over at those all-seeing eyes of Baba's, and I knew that he knew. So what was there to say? Now, when he said, I knew that I was a scoundrel, I thought to myself, well, I wouldn't say I'm a scoundrel. I'd say I'm like basically a decent person. And to that extent, I don't know myself. And here Erich, probably the least of a scoundrel that I've ever met on this earth, is saying that he is a scoundrel. And they're you know, and that is, he said, I had self-knowledge. I know I was a scoundrel. Now, it's not the kind of thing where Erich didn't have a bad self-image. You know, it's not that kind of a, you know, like, oh yeah, I'm such a lousy person. No, it's just the reality of the situation. You remember hearing that exchange? Yeah. So then I began tracing back my motives. I thought, wow, so I thought I was mainly kind of a decent guy and then part scoundrel. Maybe I should just start checking my motive for things. So for the next couple of years, I started like finding behind my actions, you know, what is the motive and everything. And it all was like largely selfish and affected my self-image for years. But at this, you know, but then I couldn't persist in it. You know, so today I would have to say I'm still kind of think I'm basically a partly all right guy and partly a scoundrel. I might have changed the percentage a little bit.
And honesty is the thing that I often say, that when you say all these things, this must not, I don't say this much, we should please Baba, because these days I remember one of Baba's quote, which I like most, is this: God does not tolerate anything less than total honesty. So you must be tolerating all things that you say, which is honesty you are saying to him. Mm-hmm. God does not tolerate anything less than total honesty. So what we are, so we have to mirror ourselves in His name. That could be one of the ways.
We have to mirror
ourselves in His grace of what we are, so that there is no sort of, what should I say, I don't have a word.
In other words, what we are needs to show up in front of the mirror, so to speak.
You know, that might be enough.
Paul, did you want this quote, or did you remember it?
Which one?
From Ramakrishna.
Yes, what was
The winds of grace are blowing all the time.
that? The winds of grace are blowing all the time.
You have only to raise your sail.
Yes. This was the quote that Mani shared in the hall when Nisha was here, and then he composed a very beautiful song based on this thought, and he sang it here when the Sufi group was here.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the day that all of us passed away, and they were singing.
Yes, and they were singing this song. And that was the time when Alva passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, anything more? Maybe just...
I remember reading once, Baba asked somebody what they were thinking, and the fellow said, "My mind is a blank." And Baba said, "For your mind to be a blank is a very good thing." So my mind is a blank at the moment.
But we say these things.
I don't know if it's a good thing or if it's just confusion.
To know that it is a blank mind itself, not. It is not blank.
That's right. Not like it is.
भी संगल का बोलो पहली मीटिंग जरा बोलो ना बहुत साल हो गए जरा बताओ कुछ मुंह से निकालो तुम आते हैं और जाते हैं ना एक लफ्ज तुम्हारे मुंह से किसी को सुनने को आता है आज बोलिए जरा बोलिए तो tomorrow is his birthday every birthday he comes here especially with his family and he has been following Baba since 50 years 52 years सांगा ना जरा काय कसे आले काय प्लीज काय सांगणार जे सांगायचं असेल मनात असेल ते सांगा आम्ही काय सांगतोय
When he first met Baba, we met Baba.
when you first met Baba there तुम्ही सांगा
When you first met Baba. When you first met Baba.
I met Baba September 1952 there was a meeting for 3 days 8 night and that was my first meeting with Baba at Meherazad before the fiery free life
And then there was no gap between Baba's darshan and my going coming to Meherazad. Whenever Baba having any function or any we had some always there. And it was a great pleasure to be before Baba. And there was nothing, we were just ignorant, we didn't know anything about spirituality or anything. Only we wanted to see Baba and be in his presence. That was our happiness throughout our life.
have you ever asked Baba anything
With Baba person, once or twice she asked about what is your income. Is it sufficient for you to come here? Or you always come with your family? Is it sufficient? And she said, no. But he said, he just put his hand on my hair and he said, it will be like this.
and it still continues. Now what's your birthday? What will be tomorrow? You will be how many years tomorrow?
How many years? I will be completing 82 completely.
Can you describe before you met Baba what you were feeling or thinking before you actually met Baba? What brought you to even go to see Baba in the first place?
Only Baba's books I read before coming to Baba. Baba's life, the avatar, the perfect master, the wayfarers. That was in 48. And then 50, and I requested Nana came. Just I want to see Baba once in my life. So Nana came, gave an appointment, told Baba. Baba said there is a meeting, call him. So I came.
Were you nervous at all before you went to see Baba, or were you just all excited? Did you think that...
There was no particular miracle or anything when I saw Baba first time.
What did you do? What did you do when you met him? What did he do?
I don't know.
Did he embrace you? Did you get an embrace?
Yes. There was. Generally, whoever came first, Baba used to meet him.
They are having a very good center at Bhopal for over 40 years, I think so.
Yes.
One pointed center, Bhopal. Now they have a website or I don't know.
Yes.
Now you have a website also.
Believe,
Huh?
all of you won't believe that I met Baba
Yes. Please tell.
1992. Can you believe? I
I
met
don't
Baba in 1992. Before 1990, I was not knowing anything about Baba. I was transferred to some place, and then I met Baba lovers, and then I was thinking maybe some Baba, maybe there. But in 1992, there was some mishap. I'm a medical college teacher, so we had gone to some picnic place, and there were some people drowning in the river. I remembered Baba, you just said that. And I had seen that there is a hut, and I am standing over there, and Baba is sitting on the chair, and he came towards me, and then he went back. This is what I have seen. And I was just so excited, what is this happening? And then 2 of them were drowned, and many of them were saved. Then we came back, and it was such an experience, I cannot express it in my words. So I used to say that I met Baba in 1992. Nobody can believe it. It was such an experience.
And since then you have been.
Since then I am great follower of Baba, though my family do not follow. I am all alone coming with these nowadays. I belong to Bhopal.
Yeah.
And moreover, his daughter, Dr. Nafle, Kunda Nafle, she's my classmate.
Oh.
So in 1965,
She's also a doctor.
She is also a doctor. And in 1965, I saw a pendant, a locket in her chain. And I asked her, what is it? Who is he? And she told me he is Baba. I thought maybe he is Baba. So, but that time I came in contact in 1965, but it took 30 years to realize who is he. So just see the miracle, how it happens.
Baba was in that hut all that time.
Yeah. Really, it was such an experience.
I'm very happy that you shared this with us.
I put this experience in internet.
Good. Very good. Baba said, let my love be shared with others. It is not that you are making much of yourself or anything, but it is glorifying the glory of the Lord, who is worth all glory.
But I am very sorry that I cannot pursue even my children and my husband and my family persons. And that they should believe Baba. Maybe Baba's grace.
It's always a personal
They can come sometime. We can realize something.
While you're talking about Jamie Newell's song, Never Can You Sing.
Yeah, I like it.
Sing a song
Never. Jamie Newell's song.
What?
Jamie Newell's song. It's one of my favorite
Well,
songs.
if everybody want to join in, I only know I know the chorus. I don't know how I will do on the verses. It goes, sing a song of Meher Baba, sing of the magic touch of love will bring. Sing it loud, sing it bright, for the rest of your life. Never could you sing it long enough to give the praise that He is worthy of. Never could you sing it loud enough to give the praise that He is worthy of. That's the line.
As far as I remember, this was his first song that he composed, and he sang it here, and I said, give me your first song has to remain among your all songs. I am not a singer, I am not a musician, but your first song has remained as the first song for me. And still it stands first.
Your favorite, yeah.
Paul, will you share any stories, those two that we brought in of your time with Baba?
Let's do.
I was thinking when Jeff was talking about how Baba said that he wants you to be honest with him and to love him, just to love him instead of, being bound by other thoughts of spirituality. It reminds me of that story in Guru Prasad we talked about this morning, where all those groups came. They would come on the weekends, sing music for Baba.
In short, in brief, because if I talk for more than 5 minutes, at least short breath, or breath short of breath, or whatever it is. But the breath is still blowing. Still breathing.
Still a lot of hot air, huh?
There have been really ample opportunities for me to be with Baba. And not only to be with Baba, but also to be with his so many dear ones with variety of natures and singers, and some with jokes, and some ordinary persons, some of meditation and all these things. And sometimes there would be quite a new persons who would be visiting Baba. So one thing that reminds me was this, that once a group of people from Bombay came to Baba. It was quite in the Mandi hall. In Guru Prasad there was a big hall where Baba would meet people when there would be about 200, and there was a small room there which is known as Mandi hall or Mandi's room, where Baba would meet his dear ones when it is a small group. So,
Just this Bombay group.
Before that I will take another story. So, once the Baba from Bombay came, and Baba said, how is the work going on? He said, Baba, the work is going on really fine and all these things. But people come for some day, for some month, and then they leave. And they don't come. They are really good people. They have read their books, but we don't know why they stop coming. Our relations are good, but they stop coming to the center. As we try to inquire, or as we try to investigate, we found that people take Baba as a great man, as a saint, but a saint who speaks lies. He doesn't keep his word. He says, I am going to break my silence, and he has not broken his silence. He says, this will happen, and that does not happen. So, and when you say, I am the avatar, that's a great sort of a shock for them. How can you be the avatar? Ram can be avatar, Jesus can be avatar. But how can Meher Baba be the avatar of the age? So, Baba says about breaking my silence, I can tell you why I changed, why the dates are changed. So I was there and I said, what sort of answer is Baba going to give now? So I was also curious because it was for the first time I heard that answer from Baba. He said, yes, right, they are right. I give the dates to break my silence, and I don't break, or I give certain dates to certain things to happen, or to certain incidents to happen, and they don't happen. That's what they say is right. But what should be the cause of it? Now Baba himself is thinking for himself, what should be the cause of it? And then in a serious mood he stays for some time, and then he comes out of it and says, yes, now I know why this is happening. When I was a boy, and when I was at school, I was good at languages, but I was worst in arithmetic. so it's this addition, subtraction, multiplication. So I cannot work out that properly, and that's why this is happening.
But Bal, they asked, they said, why not, don't say your avatar, just say you're a saint or something?
So one of them, we saw so many stories. So one of them, they always say, Baba, at least you do one thing. We take you as avatar, but in the public you don't say that you are the avatar. You say I am a saint person or something like that. Then so many will come to you. Because to saints they come, but when you say I am the ancient one, they have a shock. Baba says, what they say they are right. But divine honesty demand. I ask you to be honest. What I say is this, that you have to be honest with yourself, with God, and with Baba. So when I ask you to be honest, I have to be honest with myself first. And with my divine honesty, I tell you that I am the ancient one. So how can it be dishonest? I am that. That's all. My turn is over. Honestly.
Can we hear from the Swiss?
Yes.
Beatrice is coming again after 7 months.
Well, not much to hear. Second time this year, we are here. A couple of us.
What brought you here for the second time? What brought you here for the second time?
Well, I just can't talk of myself. What brought me was that enormous feelings I had here in February.
Yeah.
Love, glimpse of love, maybe.
Yeah.
And so on Thursday, many others are coming as well. New ones. There's those back there.
She drew you here or she pulled you here?
She drew you here and dragged you here.
No.
Came with her?
No.
They were separate.
Separate.
How did you first hear about it?
It's a good question. I first heard of him 1.5 years ago. And I cannot explain this because in February I just had to come. That was not a decision of mine. I just had to come. And so I'm here. Yeah. It's not an intellectual thing which happened. I cannot explain it.
This happens like that.
Existing?
It's the mercy of Baba.
Well, we don't want you to share what you do not wish to share. It's not a force, but just a sort of a friendly sharing. We ask each other about
Yes, I know.
There is nothing that I must know there.
Sometimes we are unable to explain how it happens and why it happened. Like why I have gone there and how it has all happened. We never know. It is His will only. It is His wish only.
That's true. It is so
We are
incredible.
just unable to explain it.
I don't tell them a story about Julie's father. Julie's parents came and the Conrad said, Conrad, what Conrad heard?
When he was in the hall, right? There was
They were
I'm not sure. Maybe you can.
No, you're. I'm sure you are sure about it.
I'll start it.
You start.
There was a woman named Julie that was here. Yeah, and her father was visiting with her. And he was in the hall, and I think he was on the hot seat here where Jetta is. And Eric had asked him, how did you come to Baba, or how has your trip been?
He had read God Speaks, he had read discourses, he had read so many things. But feeling Baba and love for Baba is different than the heart accepting him as the ancient one. That is different. There are so many levels of one's relationship with Baba. So it was this question that was before him, that I have come with my daughter, all the people are well, I am feeling very happy and all these things. I have read God Speaks, I have read discourses, and then yes.
And then he goes to the Samadhi one day. He went up to the Samadhi and there wasn't really anyone around. He went up and there wasn't anyone inside, or it was in the middle of the afternoon. So he went to go inside the Samadhi and he was looking at Baba's painting and he heard this sound. He heard someone call out and he said, "Hello? Hello?
Hello, friend."
Hello, friend." And he said it was a very familiar voice. And he was surprised because when he first walked up, there was no one around, there wasn't anyone inside. So he just sort of came out a little bit and looked out the door, looked around, and there wasn't anyone there. So he said, I must be hearing things, And so he goes back inside again. He goes to bow down to Baba's Samadhi. He hears again, "Hello, friend. Hello."
And then that voice touched his heart so much that he started weeping there. And that didn't stop. Yes, right. This is my sign, he didn't stop. Could you hear? Yes. It will not stop for some time. Then that really changed him. Means intellectually accepting Baba is a different thing, and accepting Meher Baba from the heart is a different thing. So that's a sort of what leap you call quantum leap, or whatever leap you call. I'm not good at using words. It was that leap, and then he said, he was right here. He was in his 60s, but he couldn't speak. He simply said, "Hello, friend," and in the group of 60, he began to weep like a child. Don't you think so? Don't you remember that?
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Do you remember this much? Have you anything to add?
Not to that. That was what happened.
But wasn't
Eric
that
was telling was perfect.
There's something about that seat where people would cry.
Not good, yeah. Be careful there.
I know. What about Scott or Bambi? Will you tell how you came to hear of Baba?
Sure. I would say that I had heard of Baba in Tucson, Arizona. In Tucson, I heard of Baba about 22 years ago.
Oh.
But I did not know what to do with that. And this name kept coming back to me different times over the course of years. And then Jade is the one who had brought a number of us here. And we don't know each other, but we all came because of him. And it was quite amazing the things that happened that told Scott and I in our hearts that we wanted to come to India for the first time, not really understanding it, and then to come here with Jade. So this is a very new experience for all of us. But a wonderful.
With everyone, it's a new experience. So it's special, it's new.
I had an experience of hearing about Baba in the late 1960s.
Yeah.
But I was not searching.
Yeah.
And it was something that I heard.
He was searching.
You may have taken a long time.
Yeah. He didn't feel it.
And then it was not part of my life for many years. My life has been pretty focused on different things. I'm a physician.
Yeah.
And my eyes are pretty much in front of me on many things. And, maybe 10 years ago, more than that, maybe between 10 and 15 years ago, I had an opportunity to see a dramatic production that was made, I think, in England, of Meherazad.
Yeah.
And I was struck by that. It was amazing. I kept it in mind. It was just mysterious. It was very, very difficult for me to understand with the way that I was thinking exactly what was going on. Especially the Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
part. It was very, very difficult for me to understand. I kept that in the back of my mind just to say, there's something there that's very important that I have to keep my eyes open for and open myself to. And then I had a chance to become acquainted with the Ramayana, and it was so rich, so wonderful. And it was another thing that was just saying, oh my goodness, there's so much that I need to open myself to. And at that point, and that was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and since that point, it's just I've been impelled, and Bambi and I have both been coming in this direction towards India to
Find out.
to see more.
Yeah.
There's obviously so much here that we've not been open to, and I think our coming here has been through Bambi and then through Jade. It's been a wonderful experience. I think that some of the things, from my point of view, the intellectual things I have more difficult time with, but the heart things are very clear.
Then, lucky.
So how did you hear Baba you said in the late 60s?
Yes.
You just heard his name?
Yes, there was a great deal going on in the 1960s, and his name was one that came to the front at that time, but it just came up and then receded in my consciousness at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Baba Ram Natu? Yeah. As far as I remember, I have not met him, I have not seen him, but Baba Ramdas was instrumental in bringing so many people indirectly, because he worked with Timothy Leary, and also it was Alan Cohen who was one of the members who worked with Leslie and all that. So it was about that time that Alan Cohen wrote a letter to Kitty Devi in Myrtle Beach. And Kitty Devi sent that letter over here, which I had an opportunity to read, and it was just as an instant that Baba's dimension, so to say, of work on LSD thing and drug things, he started working, and then it was then that he gave a special message that these psychedelics not only harm you physically, mentally, but spiritually, and so all those things happened. And as far as I remember, I am not sure, but it was about that time, maybe 67 or 68. I recently saw his photo in there.
Human Kindness Foundation.
Human Kindness Foundation. So recently I saw his photo and it reminded me that it was about 67 or 68 that he wanted to come. And it was about that time, or after that time, I don't know. Which were the two famous books that you wrote? Be Here Now and...
Yeah, it wasn't so good.
It's called Still Here.
Yeah. And so in that, he was connected. So I just wonder how people get connected. So he had specially come to see Neem Karoli Baba in the Himalayas. And at that time, he had been in Bombay, and he sent a telegram to Meher Baba that he would like to see him. But Baba said, no, this is not the time. And so what happened next, I don't know, because then he must have gone to Neem Karoli, and so many other things happened with him, and he did so many things, and the dress was changed, whether his attitude was changed, I don't know, whatever it was. But Ramdas brought me this, my memory with him. So anyway, he is also instrumental in bringing a great movement of drug that started in the States, and which in a way Baba used to bring lots of people of his dear ones over here.
All of our parents.
Do you know any story of those days, John?
The story of those days?
Drag stories of the 60s?
Are you talking about the story of Baba Ram Das traveling in India?
No, I'm talking anything connected with Baba and connected with drugs.
Oh, well, I heard about Baba because of that return trip of Rick Chapman's.
Yes.
When Rick Chapman had traveled around India on a Fulbright scholarship as a Baba lover and had gotten to see Baba. Baba gave him a 5-minute interview that took 2 hours. And then...
because he's not good at arithmetic.
That's right. That's right. And then Baba gave him the instruction to come back to the United States and tell people about the dangers of using psychedelic drugs. And he came to Myrtle Beach, to the Baba Center, and Marshall Hay said, you should come to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to give a talk where all of Marshall's friends lived, including me, because they have a big drug problem.
And Marshall was a dealer.
So then Rick came and gave this talk in Chapel Hill, and I was able to attend that talk. It was May 1967. So that's how I first heard about Baba.
And Baba said, Baba sent a special telegram.
Yes.
That
And
Baba's love would flow through the chapel, through the streets of Chapel Hill.
yeah.
Something that I remember, I'm not exactly remember what it is. So that was sort of an incident that Baba used for his work, those who took drugs. Then literally hundreds of them came here. And they openly said their stories and go to there.
So then, I don't know how much you want me to
Yeah,
tell about that, but now there is...
15. I want you for 10 minutes, 10 more minutes.
There's a book.
The bell rings, stop.
Okay. So this talk, Sunday afternoon talk, what my own experience was that the night before we had gone to this rock and roll concert, and between two rock and roll bands, when they're taking away one set of drums and they're bringing out another set, Rick Chapman walked out on stage, and he seemed very arrogant and insulting, and he said to the crowd, "You people think you're high, but you're not high like he's high." And he pointed to this giant orange and black Dayglow poster of Baba that was on the back wall. And then he said, tomorrow I'm giving... He's the highest of the high. And tomorrow I'm giving a talk about Meher Baba in Chapel Hill at 3 o'clock. And so my wife and I got really excited about going to see this talk. And we didn't mind that he seemed to be a little insulting or arrogant or whatever. That's just the impression everybody got of him at that particular moment. So the next day, we had 2 children, so we called every babysitter we knew. And our children were very wild and mischievous. And we would have a babysitter for a few visits, and then they wouldn't be available whenever we would call them after that. So we called about 6 or 7 different people that had ever babysat for us, all of them not available. So then...
We were famous for that.
Yeah, we were famous for our wild children. So then we decided that I would go to the talk, and I would just listen very carefully and come home and report in as much detail as possible, like Archie Goodwin, everything that I heard. So 3 o'clock talk. So at 2:55, a woman that we knew pretty well, named Elizabeth Mabe, came driving up to our house. And I'll tell you word for word what she said. "You people never get to go out and have any fun. Just go somewhere and I'll watch the kids. And don't worry about them." So then we got in our car and we raced over to this, and we got to this talk about 3:05, about 5 minutes late. And there were about 35 people sitting around, sort of like a big living room. And there were no seats left. So we just sat on the floor. And the talk went for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Which in India might not be a long time. They have these long kirtans and long programs, and every movie is over 3 hours. But in the West, 3 hours of talk, everybody would be sound asleep after the first hour and a half. And we just sat there completely fascinated. My back didn't get sore, and we were just completely focused. And Rick Chapman had a copy of God Speaks. There were at least 20 pieces of paper sticking out of this copy of God Speaks that certain places he was saving, he wanted to illustrate some point. And Henry Kashouti had come too. He was a judge in Virginia who had met Rick Chapman at the center, and when he heard that Rick Chapman was coming to give this talk, he decided that he wanted to be there as well. So he had actually written to Baba asking permission to come to the talk. And he didn't receive a response in time. So he just thought, well, I'll just have to follow my intuition, and I feel I should go. So he also came. And Henry came to Baba through reading God Speaks. So he really knew God Speaks very well. And this talk went on so long because every time Rick would say something, then Henry would step in and correct it if he thought it was a little bit confusing.
Was he a judge still then? Was he a judge even at that time?
No, he was a judge then. So they talked about the planes of consciousness. They talked about Baba breaking his silence. I mean, I even remember Rick Chapman said that when you're on the third plane, you can stop a railroad train. As if we needed to know that little piece of information. I mean, it was so detailed. There was so much information in this talk. And he mentioned about the new humanity. And I swear they covered every possible thing you could say to some newcomers about Meher Baba. 3 hours and 15 minutes. So by the end of that, finally, they said, are there any questions? And there were only about 2 or maybe 3 questions were asked. Somebody asked about what art would be like in the new humanity. I remember that. And they kind of faked an answer. I don't think they really had a very good answer for that. But and then I found out from Rick years later that he thought that the talk had been a complete and utter failure. And the evidence of that was nobody had any questions. Well, they just explained everything. There was nothing to ask, So, and then all these people from Chapel Hill, we were just wild for Baba, and we started going to the center, and we started having Baba meetings, and it was just a really charged time. So now there's this book that Balaji has printed called The Golden Thread. So that book is about this time in Chapel Hill. And I think it's available somewhere here, maybe at the Trust Compound. Do you know?
He just gave us a copy. It was hard for me to go through all the chapters and understand.
Well, after this talk, we had planned to go over to Lorenzo Durham's house. He's now become a Baba lover. Lives in California. And we were going to Lorenzo Durham's house to discuss celebrating Buddha's birthday. That was the original plan. We would go over to Lorenzo's meeting. We would get this woman to come from Washington, D.C., and we would sit around the campfire all night. We would use drugs, and anyway, it was going to be a big adventure. So we came to this meeting of about 5 or 6 people, and Art Lester was there, and he had not gone to the talk. And we were fired up and excited about Meher Baba. So we were sitting around the table talking about Baba. And and Art said, do you really think that he is who he says he is? And Barbara, who wrote this book, said, I'm absolutely certain of it. And I said, I'm absolutely certain of it, but it seems like you have to give up taking drugs to follow him, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. And it took me 2 days more to decide that I was also ready to give up using drugs. But it happened to a lot of people at this talk that they just were immediately and absolutely convinced in 3 hours that Baba was the God-man. Jim Watson was there, and Scott Simmons, Teddy Johnson was there. Still in Chapel Hill. Every year,
For the last 10 years.
every year, he is more shy and more reclusive, but very, very tight with Baba. But you just don't see him. He has some cats, and he works for the town of Chapel Hill, and he draws maps, and but he's just more and more in seclusion. That's all.
It is all they were like, I do remember it because only at the test office and seems the bench over there.
Henry Kashouti.
She's a judge, and his conviction about Baba is marvelous.
Yes. So now I've never seen a copy of it. But just if this is 12:15, when Henry didn't get permission from Baba to come to Chapel Hill, he came anyway. But we have heard, and Marshall has heard it read out, and other people have heard it read from Kitty or Elizabeth, that Baba sent a telegram, but he sent it to Myrtle Beach, not to Henry's place in Virginia, because Henry was probably in Myrtle Beach when he wrote and asked permission. And the telegram is supposed to have said, Henry Kashauti has my permission to attend my darshan in Chapel Hill. And that's a very mysterious thing, because Baba wasn't physically present, and that's, darshan has always been, so then, the other mysterious thing is that when Naju Kotwal was to go to graduate school, Baba instructed her to go to graduate school in Chapel Hill, 1957 to 1960. And she was very lonely. Of course, she was obedient, and she came and she would go to Myrtle Beach when she could and visit Kitty and Elizabeth. But she was in Chapel Hill. There were no known Baba lovers there at that time. And it just seemed as if Baba was making some preparation or something, doing this work by having her come in advance. So he had some plan for Chapel Hill.
No, I hadn't heard of Baba yet. That was 67 or something.
Chapman, you said Philip Chapman or Alan Cohen's talk?
Alan Cohen.
Alan Cohen's talk.
Alan Cohen.
And he happened to share this news over here, and there were few people. Erico was there at the time.
I think Erico was there.
Klein was there.
No, a year later, but Dana Ferry and quite a few other people.
He was sharing this story over here, and just as he was sharing the story, someone said, yes, I was also from the talk. Someone said, I was also from the talk. Third one said, I was also. I remember 3 hands, but I don't remember the names. These are Baba's names. This is Baba's sign, as many would call. This is Baba's bold signature. It's I am who I brought my dear ones to me in my own unique ways. After so many years, we have talked so much in the Bible.
So
I was not here then, or I don't know.
No, I don't know that you have to, somebody has to ask you. You don't just go, I'm ready to tell my mother.
So that's Baba living that is okay.
So we went to see Balaji in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
So of course they made me give a talk.
Yeah.
Never given a talk before, And then the part that I thought was most amusing was that when I finished and people were asking questions, one of the first questions they said was, well, your missus hasn't said anything. We want to hear her story. So then they made Carol give a talk. She's never given a talk before either. So Carol also had to give a little talk about hearing about Baba from her brother Barry.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.